Uta Vardani Shri Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum. Dagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendu So Huyo Sunge Nawa Tsedu Seji Ningne Soa Debete Dechen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malupa Geme Dunge Drubra Jingelo Tsuni Sodan Dikne Shapetse Dunge Namge Yinsu Lekshune Lapchen Tsuni Yonsu Tsobadan Cherani Dunch Chancho Pargi Ninsen Tukun Tu Niu Peme Silbro Lekshune Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Dunge Dela Drubra Jingelo Adagelo Na Chola Chopadan Chumi Samjurang Impa Shiwa Chodan Tumbe Dedu Malupa Beme Dunge Drubra Jingelo Dona Sine Tera Techi Pardo Nega Tamche Tu Rese Kyamne Lama Keleme Tukche Chingi Dala Siksus Tongya Brewe Nyamda Dachala Jetsu Lame Tuje Kodan Sungi Nawa Dalme Tu Nyamsun Yome Kesan Tobrasho Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Drame Cheki Pela Loncho Chin Sada Lange Dorje Change Kopa Nyurdo Vesho Pakyuke Kudan Dagilu Pakyuke Sundan Dagina Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Eyeme Chikto Jingiru Pakyuke Kudan Dagilu Pakyuke Sundan Dagina Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Eyeme Chikto Jingiru Buongiorno. Good morning. So today, before we start with the actual teachings, I like just to, actually I was requested to make a practical announcement, but I like to join that with another aspect, which is more Dharma connected, but is also very important. Then we start with the actual teachings. Okay? So, personally, I have had many beautiful opportunities in my life. But for me, one of the most special opportunities I have ever had is the possibility to listen to the teachings, to receive the Dharma teachings, to practice together with my gurus and with my friends from the Sangha. This is for me one of the most special things that I could ever experience, sincerely. In India, in Tibet, here, in Borobudur, in Brazil, in many places. No? Or when I go to other countries, in Spain, in Holland, in Chile, in Argentina, wherever. No? And so, this is something which I believe for many of us, it's a really very special thing to be able to be here together. And actually, we are able to be here together in any place where I have ever been because there are other people that make this possible for us. There are people that take care of, let's so-called mundane aspects, which is we need to eat, we need to sleep, we pretend the place to be clean. There are many things which are there that needs to be done, no? And right now, for example, we have people taking care of the kitchen, the food for all of us. And all these people are people that would love to be listening to the teachings. We have a sound system there to listen, but still, it's a big different thing, no? And so one thing is that I'm really very grateful for all of them, and I think we all should be. And we are in a system which is based on so-called volunteers, which means, okay, how can, they're all people like us that are wanted to, like, are here for the Dharma, but at the same time are seeing the needs of the center and dedicating them to be able to make this possible for all of us. So what I was asked practically, on a practical level to say, is that it's really, really important for everyone, please, to book your food before 11 if you're having lunch, and before 5 in the afternoon if you're having dinner. Otherwise, these people that are dedicating their job for us, we make their life more difficult. And then finally, we are the ones that maybe there is not enough food for everyone, or this or that. So we need really to somehow support those that are actually giving us this precious opportunity. Okay? So this is just an important thing. So in a practical level, please remember just to book before 11 for lunch, and to book before 5 for dinner. Okay? I think the message was that. In italiano, Francesco gentilmente sta traducendo quello, credo che hanno capito tutti, giusto? Ok, perfetto. Sangye chodam sogi chonam la janchu pardo tani kyapsu chi sagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola venture sangye druparashu sangye chodam sogi chonam la janchu pardo tani kyapsu chi Dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola penchira sangye rupa sangye chodam sogi chonam la janchu pardo dani kyapsu chi Dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola penchira sangye rupa. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni, possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri essenziali. I would like to start today with a question to make to our own selves. And the question is, am I the result of the world surrounding myself? Or am I the results of the choices that I make? Okay? It's not an easy question, okay? Because again, we have the tendency to want things black and white. But most of the times there is a gray zone where the two things meet. But still, if we look in the overall, one of them has more weight. So it's like we saw the day before yesterday when we checked and we said, are we influenced by our body? Are we influenced by our hormones? Yes. I'm just making an example about this. I was reading one article of something that is more and more coming up in the international scientific world also, which is the harm that is there from the fact of having artificial light. We are maybe, the third generation with artificial light? I don't think there have been so much more before that. But the fact is that for millions of years, human beings have been living according to the natural light. And what happens is that basically with artificial light, whenever we have light in our eyes, it inhibits the melatonin. Okay? One of the issues that this is bringing is that more and more we have people with difficulties for sleep. And this is bringing actually devastating consequences in society. Because we do not sleep well, we get emotionally more fragile, intellectually less intelligent, our mind is less sharp, we have difficulties concentrating, and all of these things put together. We end up out of sync with the world. So we can see, look at that, because we use light, and because we use artificial light, that very often gives us the wrong information that we are supposed to receive. This will bring us many consequences. And we may say, oh, I am stressed, oh, I am emotionally fragile because my mind is fragile. And actually it's because we are using too much artificial light and we are not sleeping in the right way. So the question is, are we influenced by external conditions? Yes. So we need to take care of them. Because we need to be careful not to enter into the extremes. Or everything is in the mind, or nothing is in the mind. Sure, we are influenced by our mind, and that's actually the biggest influence that we have. But this doesn't mean that we are not influenced by the external factors and by our body. So I really think we must put special effort into this aspect also. Because we are also living a moment of history in which we did very, very big changes in lifestyle 2 generations ago, more or less. And now we are at a generation time in which we start to see the actual effects of these changes that were done, the side effects. But we are still on time to make changes on it. Okay? So this is just one aspect which I think it's very important for us to be aware of. This is why I was not thinking to talk about this today, but just to remember that yes, we are influenced by the world that surrounds us. We are influenced by what we see, by what we listen, by where we are, by when we sleep, by how we sleep, by what we eat, by the environment. We are influenced by all of that, and we cannot deny it. Okay? So, we are also influenced by our own body together. But as we saw the day before yesterday, from all of this, who gives us the highest and the strongest influence in our lives? Our own mind. Okay? So, the fact that our mind is the greatest influence in our life doesn't take away the influence from the food and the influence from the environment and the influence from everything else. Similar to that, what we are today, is it the result of the world that surrounds us, or is it the result of the choices that we make, the actions that we do? My personal view is that what we are is the result of the choices that we make, influenced by the world in which we live. Okay? So, basically what happens is that we are constantly in transformation. There has been, from the more modern scientific point of view, many different aspects in which it's talking that we can transform ourselves. Our mind is flexible, our brain has plasticity, our microbiome is always changing, our DNA is changing. We can look at many things like that, no? And I'm looking now at my friend here. I'm remembering one of the talks that you did one time in one of the congresses. And there was this point in which you were bringing up from the scientific point of view, saying we can change ourselves, no? We can transform. And then, at that time when I was listening, it came to my mind and said, it's true. But there is one more aspect which I see very clearly for me. We don't have the choice to transform ourselves. We are constantly in transformation. It's not that I have the choice to eat in a certain way because then I will transform my body. Everything that I eat is already transforming myself. It's not that I have the choice to direct my mind in a certain way to transform my mind. Every thought that I have, I am already shaping and transforming my mind in a certain direction. It's not that we have the choice to make exercise, to shape our body in a certain way, or not to transform the body. Every action I do with my body, I am shaping my body. So, every action in our life, every choice in our life, every thought in our life, it shapes constantly ourselves. It is transforming our mind. It is transforming our body. It is transforming our reality. So we are not free to choose. Do I want or do I don't want to transform my life? We are not free to choose, do I want to transform my body or I don't want to transform my body? We are not free to choose, do I want to transform my mind or I don't want to transform my mind? Because ourselves, our life, our relationships, our working environment, our body, everything is constantly in transformation. Why do things transform? Why do things change? Because they interact. The stronger is the interaction, the stronger will be the change. But the fact and the truth is that there is no interaction that can make a rapid change. Changes in our mind, changes in our body, the greater changes actually happened in a very gradual way. It's not something that happens immediately. Something that takes time. It takes energy, one after the other. And I believe that one of the difficulties that we have within it is that when we make small actions in our life that we take for granted, we're not able to connect that actions with the big picture of the changes that we experience. So basically, when I see that I am stressed, and when I see that I am overwhelmed, and I am not able to rest, and I feel restless, and I am emotionally fragile, and whatever, just to make one example, I ask myself, why? And our tendency is to look for one cause. That's actually very stupid, but that's what is our tendency. Our tendency is whenever we feel happy or whenever we feel sad, we must find the one to blame. It can be something that we did, it can be something that someone else did, it can be an external factor, but we want to find something to blame. But the truth, if we analyze it, is that nothing happens out of nothing. Everything happens out of many, 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 many small things that are put together. And they accumulate. And then suddenly, conditions interact with other things, and then suddenly a result manifests clearly. But that clear manifestation is just the result of something that has been accumulating from time. So every time that we had a certain thought, every time that we had a certain reaction, every time that we didn't sleep enough or we slept too much or whatever, everything comes together and builds up our own reality. So, what happens is that in order for us to build up a reality that is healthy, that is positive, we must act based on three aspects, which are very much present all the time in Buddha's teachings. The three aspects are called Shi Lam Jesum in Tibetan, which means the basis, the path, and the result. Okay? So this is one thing. So, the basis means what are my own abilities? What are the resources that I have? We need to recognize what are the resources that we have. The result is with these resources, what can I reach? And the path is the process of transformation of these resources in order to reach the results that I want to gain. Okay? So first thing is I must acknowledge my resources. Second, I must dream and see what can I do with such resources. Where can I get? What can I get with it? But there must be coherence between what I am and what I want to be. And third, we must really work hard to get there. Okay, which is the longest of all. So, when I entered here today, I was busy this morning with Rinpoche with some things, but that's why I came a bit late. And you were doing the mantra of Kalachakra. Then came clearly to my mind the fact that, one of the important aspects that we have in Tantra and in Buddhism in general is the fact of having the result and making clear where do we want to go. That is actually coming from the basis where we are. So for example, we were doing the mantra Oma Hum Ho Hankya Malawaraya Hum Pe. That's not the subject of today, but basically, what is it? What's the meaning of this mantra? Om A Hum Ho Han Kya. It means the 5 Dhyani Buddhas plus Vajradhara, which is the union of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Ma, La, Wa, Ra, Ya, the 5 elements, which are the 5 mothers. Okay? In other words, it means our 5 aggregates, the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, plus the identity that holds the 5 aggregates together, of the self. And our elements, our body. It also means the 5 wisdoms and the identity of the union of the 5 wisdoms. But what does this mean actually? It means us in a pure form. The 5 aggregates, we all have them. It's our body, and our mind, basically, making it simple. Is the sensation, the discrimination, the personality, the mind continuum itself, the identity of the self, the elements that compose us. That's what it is, 5 Dhyani Buddhas and 5 Maras. But what is being shown to us is that with this body, with this mind, with these elements, we can become something greater. So what are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and the 5 Maras? What are the Buddhas? What is Kala Chakra? It's a reflection of what we can become. It's like the picture of us in the future. It's like if we are entering kindergarten and suddenly we see a picture of us dressed with a doctor's cloak and our dream job as a doctor, you know. Okay, yes, I am in kindergarten. But if I study well and I go on, I can go to university, and then I can go to medical school, and then I can actually be formed, and I can do that job that I want so much to do, and I can become a wonderful doctor to help many people. But I can do it. Why? Because there were other babies before me that could do it. And they had a path that they followed, and I can also follow that path. But it's fundamentally important for us to have a role model, for us to have a path to follow, and most of all, to believe in our own potential. This is fundamentally important. Okay? So, here, the basis is what we are. And there is something which is really interesting, connected to the teachings that we will move forward today, which is the question, in our basis, in our own present state of body and mind, okay, are we selfish or not? Yes. Are we attracted by our own happiness? Do we have aversion towards our own suffering? Do we give priority of that over anything else? Yes. So this means we are selfish. Okay. Do we have a healthy mind or do we have an unhealthy mind? Personally, unhealthy. Hopefully getting healthy. But the fact is that we are selfish. Okay? So, if I look to the state of a Buddha, to the perfect state of inner health, okay? If I look to a perfect state of mental health, as we have been calling these days, can I get there from what I am now? Because I cannot get anywhere unless I use the resources that I already have. Like Edwin says, the most near place to be in order to get anywhere is where we already are. The nearest start point to get anywhere is from where we are. So, I want to be altruistic and to have great love and compassion to others and wisdom, but right now I am ignorant and selfish. So as I am selfish, how can I become altruistic from being selfish? What is the resource that I have to do that? Selfishness itself. It may seem contradictory, but the greatest tool that we have to eliminate selfishness, it's selfishness itself. Because if we try to eliminate our selfishness by disconnecting from our selfishness and trying to be ideally good, because we think that that's the right thing to do, it won't really work. So, making it simple, the only true way that I see to develop this mind of so-called bodhicitta, a healthy state of mind of love and compassion, is deeply understanding that, selfishly speaking, it's better to be altruistic. We are not going to change our attitude, sincerely speaking, until we do not see the harm that is within the attitude that we have, and the benefits of an opposite attitude. So, the incredible thing of Buddha's teachings is that Buddha guides us to be altruistic through selfishness. It's really, when I first understood that, I said, wow, that's so special. Because otherwise, what happens is that there we are thinking, oh, I must be a bodhisattva, I must have a good mind, I must be good-hearted, how bad I am that I am selfish, And we do not connect the two things. And we are not bad. We are simply what we are. And with what we are, which is by embracing who we are, we can become something different. It's not going against what we are. Because it's by embracing who we are that we can actually use that characteristics to get to something more special, to transcend it. It's not by going against it. Okay? So, there is no point in feeling guilt. There is no point in saying, oh, I am not good enough, I am too selfish. Me too. The point is going deeper and understanding, what do I want to become? And what is the way how I should act now to become what I want to become? I am constantly shaping my mind. I'm constantly shaping myself. In which direction do I want to shape my body? In which direction do I want to shape my mind? In which direction do I want to shape my life? Where lies the freedom of this choice? In the small actions of our daily life. And since I got this image in my mind of balance, I have been observing myself. And every time there is a conflict around me, I see that the natural attitude that comes to us is that which will make the unbalance stronger. Wherever the unbalance goes, whatever is the side of the scale that goes down, our tendency is to put more energy on that side. But normally the solution lies in the opposite side. So, what is the exercise? To walk against the current, and there is conflict, the tendency is to follow the conflict, and what we do, we open our heart and we try to help and go in the opposite direction. We try to not follow this flow, which means not follow the unbalance. Because every action that we do, we are shaping our lives, we are shaping our reality. And here lies our freedom. Okay? So let's look the text, how it continues, and it's connected to what we are saying today. So it says, Cholam kunti rangula tokchi nyomon kematak dakshe marun chebena sentab donne doprasho. Whatever I am doing, French, c'è il testo in italiano. Francesco, pagina 20. Qua. Just wait. Those that speak English is the ones that need to be most grateful to Francesco. Because if there will be no, yesterday Luciana, today Francesco, if there will be no translation, then you have half of the time for the English, no? And not so much, and the flow is different. Because the reason, just bracket, the reason why I prefer simultaneous translation is because when I do self-translation, as I am teaching, one part of my mind is busy by keeping the attention for the translation. No? So I cannot flow so naturally because I always need to go back to translate it again. So finally I think that we get a better result for everyone in this way. Okay? So Chilam kundur rangula tokchi nyomon kematak dakshe maron chebena tsemtab dongme doprashon. Whatever I am doing, may I check the flow of my mind. And the moment that conceptions or disturbing emotions arise, since they debilitate myself and others, may I confront and avert them with forceful means. Whatever I am doing, it doesn't matter where I am, with whom I am, in what situation I find myself. I can be in my job, I can be in my bed, I can be in the Gompa meditating, I can be talking with friends, eating food, having a shower, it doesn't matter. Okay? May I constantly be able to have awareness of my own thoughts. It's the fact of somehow having a sort of self-surveillance. Okay? Which it needs to be very careful. It's like, how to say, the job of personal surveillance, personal security. And you know, if you all have ever seen like these people that do personal security, and then they have this very particular, the people that really does it well, they have this very particular capacity of being in a place and not showing their presence. It's an attitude. So, let's say maybe families import that have dangers because of whatever reason, or politicians, or whoever. And there are these people that they do personal security. And they are incredible because they are in the room, they are in the place where the other people are, and it seems they are not there. It's not a matter of hiding themselves, it's a matter of attitude. Also almost energy somehow. It's like if they are there, and they are looking at everything that is happening, they are aware of everything, but they are looking at what they are supposed to look. They are not looking at what they are not supposed to look somehow. And it's very interesting because they are and they are not at the same time. So basically, people that do this job well, they do their part of the job, but they do not make the other people to feel that their privacy is being, how to say, broken or invaded. So it's very interesting. So if we take this as a metaphor, what is the difficulty of checking our mind stream? The mind, the aspect of our mind that checks out the flow of our mind should be there like this type of personal security. It's there to check for danger, but it's not there. No? The personal security shouldn't be the one in the middle of that taking the attention and being the one taking all the space. In the moment a danger arises, he should take all the space. And he's the one that commands. Otherwise, he's there as if he was not there. Is it clear, the metaphor? So, how do we check our mind? Having a small part of awareness that is there, but it's not given too much space to it, too much attention to it. It has a very specific function, which is to give us an alarm whenever we see that we go in the direction we don't want to go, when we are about to go in that direction. But it's a way of having constantly self-awareness. If we give too much space to the self-awareness, then we lose whatever else we're doing. And it becomes quite tiring, actually. And we can lose our spontaneity into things. Okay? So it's like a balance between being present and not letting one's own presence be perceived. Okay? So, here it says, whatever I am doing, may I check the flow of my mind. Be there, be aware, where I am going, what I am doing. And at the moment that conceptions or disturbing emotions arise, so what I am checking myself for, dangerous. What is the danger? Anger, insatisfaction, hatred, criticism, unnecessary criticism, which is a form of insatisfaction, unlimited attachment, unlimited desire, pride in the sense of arrogance, miserliness, ignorance. Ignorance, for example, in relating to reality in a way that reality is not. Okay? So I need to check for that. This is where the alarms needs to ring. So we are there, and we can start doing this by focusing on the main aspects of our mind, which are the main defilements that mostly harm us. Later in the commitments of the mind training, it says, first deal with the strongest one. Let me check the precise way how it says, but Panchen Lobsang Chokyi, I think it's like that in Tibetan. Is the precept number 14. Engage in the principal practices right now. I'm not sure if that's that one.
Seven.
Number 7.
43.
Yeah, perfectly. It's part of the commitments of the mind training. Train to counter whichever disturbing emotion is greatest. So, which means that whatever is the stronger defilements, that's the first one that we need to deal with. If we try to keep this sort of personal security on everything, forget about it. It's like, then we are simply not able to deal with it. It's too much. And then we will get overstressed, So we should start by having our personal guard that he needs to take care of one threat. He doesn't need to check everything on one thing. And we try to have that awareness. So we choose, what is my main issue? Is it insatisfaction? So I will analyze myself about insatisfaction. I will check how actually it's an attitude that comes from my side. It's not because I don't have enough, it's truly because I have this negative habit of complaining and seeing that things are not good enough and that I need more and so on. So I will watch out for insatisfaction. Then, when I'm able to see that that mind appears, what do I do? First of all, there are 3 levels of doing this. This personal security, this personal guard that we look, that to secure our mind, to guard our mind, this awareness, it has 3 levels. First level is when we are able to ring the alarm, but we are not able to do anything about it. That's the first level. We go and we say, oh, hello, there is the danger, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and then boom, it comes and I cannot do anything about it. Okay, that's the first level. Level number 1, we learn to see the danger, but we are not able to stop it. It's part of the process. Because sometimes people come to me and say, oh, it's even worse now because I see it coming and I'm not able to stop it, so then I have the guilt that I cannot deal with it, and then it's even worse, at least before I didn't see it. Actually, it's the other way around. The first step, which is also inside the teachings of Lojong, which are called the 3 difficulties, which is, let me see if I find it right now here. Anyhow, doesn't matter now. The 3 difficulties are to be aware when the mental defilement arises, first difficulty, but not being able to block it. Second difficulty, to be able to apply the antidote when the defilement arises, so we don't allow it to overtake us, but not for long. Which means I hold the danger, but at a certain point I'm not able to hold anymore. And the third difficulty is to keep on with the second. So what happens basically is like this. First level, I am doing whatever. And then suddenly I am able, through my awareness, to see that the mind of insatisfaction is arising. Okay? But I am not able to hold it. So what happens? I am overtaken by the insatisfaction. And then I talk out of insatisfaction, I make choices out of insatisfaction, I react out of insatisfaction. Okay? And while all of this is happening, one part of me is looking at you, stop it, what are you doing? And still, I am doing it. That's the first level. And that's very good. If you are there, that's wonderful. That's a very good sign, truly. Second level is when I see that the mind of insatisfaction appears, I come to myself and I say, no, I do have enough. The more I have, the more I want, the more I get, the more I will want. So this is just a negative habit of myself. I need to understand that everything is impermanent, all will be changing, and actually the less I want, the more I have, so I need to change this mind. So basically what we do from that, we are able to hold for some time without reacting with the mind of insatisfaction. So I will not speak out of insatisfaction, I will not make choices out of insatisfaction, but I cannot hold for too long. So I'm able for maybe some minutes, I'm able to do it. And then when I try somehow, I relax a little bit, what happens? Boom, it comes again. And then I cannot hold for it. That's the second level. That's a very good sign. The third level is that we are aware that the mind of insatisfaction or any other defilement appears. We are able, by applying the antidote, in this case is satisfaction and so on, to not allow us to follow that mind. And we are able to hold strong enough until that mind fades away. Because one interesting thing to remember and to observe is that whenever a mental defilement arises, does it remain there forever, or sooner or later it fades away? It fades. Right? So, when anger appears, when jealousy appears, when miserliness appears, if we were able to not follow it and not block it, just remember, it is impermanent, it will pass. What happens after some times? It passes. We do this with other people sometimes. I don't know if it have ever happened to you that someone that you know well comes angry, and then you just say, okay, it will pass. Just wait a little bit. Some people get more angry with it because they're not taking it seriously enough. But the fact is that whenever any emotion appears, positive or negative, any thought actually, it is impermanent. And then as it appears, it will fade away. And it's very interesting to look, because if we take the example of insatisfaction, it looks like it appears out of nothing, and then suddenly fades out into nothing. That's how it looks like. It's not like that, but that's how it looks like. So if we have the ability just to hold on for a bit, and not react out of that negative emotion, we just need to hold on until it fades away. Okay, that's the third level. Here it says, whatever I am doing, may I check the flow of my mind. And the moment that conceptions or disturbing emotions arise, such as anger, insatisfaction, hatred, whatever, since they debilitate myself and others, since they are harmful to myself and others, they do not allow myself and others to be happy, may I confront and avert them with forceful means. Here I have one advice which, based on my personal experience, I think that for most of us it fits better. I advise, do not act with forceful means. Why? Normally, if we try to block our defilement as it arises, we just give more strength to it. Basically, what is our experience? Whenever we have a disturbing thought, I think this comes to everyone. We can be in the most nice moment, and then suddenly comes this stupid thought, no? And then it goes there. What happens when we try to block a thought? It stops or it gets stronger. Our experience is that it gets stronger. So forceful means here doesn't mean blocking the thought or blocking the emotion, but that's how most of us understand it. So when comes a negative emotion, insatisfaction, fear, hatred, pride, arrogance, whatever, okay? Instead of, if we try to block it, it will get stronger and finally it will overwhelm us. It's the same thing if you try to put one thought away. It sticks on us, you know. It's even worse. So whenever a disturbing emotion arises and you are looking at yourself, you are like checking the flow of your mind, and you are guarding yourself from these negative emotions, and whenever it arises, First thing, do not block it. Second thing, do not follow it. Or better, first thing, do not follow it. Second thing, do not block it. In order, it's better like this. First thing, we don't follow. No? It's like, it's not the best example, but may help us. It's like if someone comes to us and this person wants to talk to us about something that we don't want to talk about, and it's not a good subject, and it's not the right moment. Okay? And if the person comes to us and the person really insists, and the person knows that it's not the right moment and it's not supposed to talk about that subject because whatever reason, if we go to the person for, we did that already 10,000 times before, and we go again and say, no, now is not the moment, we shouldn't talk about it, and so on, what will happen? No, yes, it is because of this and that, blah, 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 blah. Got our attention. If we start to talk about the subject, again, got our attention. If we ignore, which is really not nice to do, but if we ignore, what will happen? It will fade away. This remembers me, one of our friends, Lojong. He was one time in Milano, and he was painting this beautiful image of the standing Buddha with a Bodhi tree behind. And it took a long time to paint it all. So he was there from morning to evening painting this Buddha in the Gompa of Milan. And our good friend that already passed away, Teresa, she was also there. And Teresa had this aspect of talking a lot. And she would take any subject and make it like for hours and repeating herself going around. So he needed to be concentrated. So while he was painting, Teresa would come there and say, no, because this, and that, and that, and that. She had her fixed subjects. One of them was the dishwasher. Anyhow. And this one. So she would come and go on and on. And he saw that whenever he was saying, oh, Teresa, sorry, I am painting, I cannot talk to you right now, it was not working. So one day he chose the following. He said, I am going to do as if I don't see her. It's really not nice, but I need to find a way how to do it. So what happened is that he was painting, she would come and start, no, because, and he was not answer, not yes or no, nothing, just continue painting. And it worked. She started coming less and less, talking, she would be there looking at him painting, but she would not talk so much anymore, until she would be there in silence. And then he was saying, wow, it worked. Then after 2-3 days like this, she came to him and she said, oh, Lojong, I want to tell you that I understand that you are not answering me and you are ignoring me, not because you are a bad, unpolite person, but because you are concentrated painting and it's not the moment to talk about these issues. And then Lojong said, oh yes, thank you very much for understanding me. You know, because of the dishwasher. And then she caught him again for another 3 hours for non-stop. Okay? So, similar to that, our mind is even more intelligent. Okay? So, we will find all the different ways how to go back to our negative habits and to justify those things that we know that are not justifiable. So what happens? When we are there, doing whatever, and suddenly we see that a negative thought is coming up, a negative habit is arising. If we try to block it, we give attention to it. If we follow it, we will give attention and we will have the consequences of it. We will make it even much more strong. So, we do not follow it, which means We do not speak out of it. We do not verbalize it. We do not make choices out of it. We do not act out of it. But at the same time, we do not try to block it. What we do is we put our energy, our thoughts, our actions in another direction. And we allow it, we hold on, allowing it to fade away. Okay? The more we do it, the quicker it will fade away. The weaker it will become. The more space we give to a certain thought, the more it will take hold of us. So, the question that we put to ourselves is, what do I want to become familiarized with? Satisfaction or insatisfaction? Gratitude or insatisfaction, complaint? No. When people come to complain to me, a few times I did this. I said, okay, you want to complain? Okay, let's complain together. If I open the list of my complaints, I can be assure you that I'm able to do it all. Most of you would never listen to my complaints because I don't like to give space to it. But if I start opening my mind to the negative judgment and to make complaints, I am more creative than many of you put together, you know. But what's the point? It's just, it becomes habit. And I saw with myself very clearly, if I start complaining about something, then I start seeing that everywhere. And it starts becoming more and more present in my life. It's like, another example, when there is something that we are not aware of, and suddenly we start to be aware of that, we start to see that everywhere. It's like, just a stupid example, but some weeks ago, so maybe 1 month ago, whatever time ago, I had a meeting here for the Think of the Center constructions and so on with the electricity company. Okay? And we were talking about the fact that most probably in the near future, because of the growing of the center, we need to build what is called like an electric cabin. I don't know what's the name of that in English. But it is small houses where you need to put the converter from middle tension to low tension of electricity and so on. Okay? Anyhow. And I was a bit shocked because it's a quite big thing that we need to have. It's not small. And when they showed it to me, okay, I checked where can we put it that would not be of harm to the center, in the best position, near the parking, okay, everything there. The fact is that from that day on, I started seeing these electric houses everywhere. Never was visited before. Going from here to Malpensa while driving, I saw at least 50 of them, I think. And I never used to see them before. I was making this road so many times and I never saw these electric houses. And now I see them everywhere. Because I opened my mind to that. And now these days that I'm thinking less about that issue, I don't see them so much anymore. So what happens is that, for example, when we start to give space to any thought or emotion, we start seeing things connected to it everywhere. And we start to justify it from many ways. So for example, I tell that by personal experience. If I start to complain about something, it's like if reasons to justify that complaint start to pop out. Here and there. And it's like making it more solid. So basically what happens is that the more we give space to a certain thought, the more that will build up our reality. And we will see that everywhere. And that's what we get familiarized with. So, wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we need to be careful to protect ourselves from the thoughts and emotions that harms us. First step, do not follow, which means do not verbalize. Do not bring it into action. Be careful not to make choices influenced by our strong defilements. Do not take actions taken by our strong defilements, such as anger, insatisfaction, fear, jealousy, envy, arrogance. Okay, we have these defilements. Yes, we do. Otherwise, we would not be here, okay? Sometimes people say, oh, you are a Buddhist, you cannot get angry. No. I am a Buddhist because I do get angry. Otherwise, I would be a Buddha. No? And a Buddha doesn't need to be Buddhist. There's no point of a Buddha being Buddhist. He's already a Buddha. Because being Buddhist is the path to become a Buddha. Right? So, by definition, Buddhists get angry, are jealous, have attachment, and all these things. Supposedly, we are on the path not to have this anymore. Okay? So, as we put energy on this path, we should gradually really be aware, and we take what is the stronger defilement, and we say, okay, I will try to deal with that first. And one advice that I have for everyone is, because there are many things to practice and many things to do, sometimes we get lost within it. So take one objective per week that we remember every day and say, for this week, I will be more aware of my insatisfaction. So, whenever it arises, I will not act out of it. I will not speak out of it. I will not follow it. And every time that it appears, I will remember, the more I have, the more I want. The more I want, the less I have. Desire has no end. And I do have enough. Write it down, and then whenever it comes, read it up. Okay, yes. So stop following that mind. Don't need to go that way. And for 1 week, give main importance to this. Or maybe our main issue is anger, or maybe our main issue is lack of concentration, or lack of awareness, or whatever. But we give emphasis to one aspect at a time. And we give importance to that for a certain period. For example, a week. Okay? So if we do not make commitments, and we leave it in a generalized way, oh yes, I must follow the flow of my mind, and I should not be taken by defilements, very difficultly it will happen. Because we are all busy with all our daily things, and life just goes on. So we need to bring it to our life consciously. So make the commitment once a week. Remember that commitment once a day, possibly 2 to 3 times a day. Originally it says 6 times a day. Especially in the moments of midday, midnight, and the moments where the energy changes, which is the sunrise and sunset. These are the 4 main moments actually. But anyhow, remember oneself about your own commitment. And by that, we say, okay, I will be careful not to follow this mind. And gradually we are able to be aware, then not to follow that defilement, then to apply the antidote and remain in the antidote until that mind fades away, and then we continue with everything else. And gradually we make the change. By this way we are transforming our thoughts, transforming our mind, transforming our reality consciously. Okay? I think it's quite clear, right? So, as we said yesterday, these teachings are very simple, intellectually easy to understand, but difficult to put into practice. So we must have the strong commitment to put them into practice. This is the prerequisite, actually, to go through it. Okay. Let's move on then with the text. Just one important thing also on this. Whenever we see that a negative thought or emotion arises, do not fill yourself with guilt. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't think this. I shouldn't have this emotion. I shouldn't be like that. Why not? If I am ignorant? Why not if I have been used to be like this since such a long time? It's not that I shouldn't be. It's better for me not to be. It's a very big difference within I shouldn't get angry and it's better for me not to get angry. There's a big difference between the two. I shouldn't means I am wrong, I must be punished, I am guilty. It's better to act differently means I embrace myself and I say, okay, let's move in a better direction. That's the way. Because we have a very strange mechanism, which it's tricky and it's quite stupid actually, but we follow it. It's the mechanism that together with guilt comes the feeling of punishment, and together with the punishment comes the justification to continue doing the same. Which means, I am angry, as I shouldn't be angry, so I must suffer for my wrong behavior. Then, okay, now I have suffered enough, so I can go back again and do the same. Because in the moment that we feel that we have paid the price for what we have done, this somehow allows us to go and do it again. I don't know if it's clear, this process. So it's very interesting that the feeling of guilt somewhere is the one that allows us to continue acting in the same way. I don't know if you agree, but for me it looks very much like that. Yes?
No, ma cosa succede se io non ho abbastanza autostima per dire sono capace di, ho fiducia in me stessa, sono capace di comportarmi in questo modo. Non credo in me stessa, non sono brava abbastanza.
Okay. The question is, what happens if we do not have enough self-esteem, enough trust in our own ability to change our own behavior? Okay. The ultimate answer is by understanding the interdependence of our own self and mind. Am I able to be different right now? No. I am not able and you are not able. No one has ever been. Okay. So as it is said, when we have a really big problem and we don't know how to deal with it, let's make it into many small problems until we are on a level that we can deal with it. Okay. So can I change my behavior right now? No. I have insatisfaction? Yes. Can I stop having insatisfaction from one day to the other? No. So, well, let's break it down. And I say, can I have a little bit less insatisfaction regarding my lunch? Okay. Let's start not complaining about the lunch. Or whatever else. And when we see that on a small level we are able to do it, this will give us the strength to do another little step again. If we have this idealized image that, oh, I must make a big change right away. So we put what we are and we put what we want to become right away, and we say, can I change myself right now? No. Personally, I cannot. And I don't think anyone here can. Can I make very, very, very tiny changes? Yes. We all can. And it's by recognizing that the tiny change is possible, and by actually recognizing that every tiny change is extremely powerful and meaningful. And somehow we need to praise ourselves, and we need to rejoice of every small step we do, remembering that every little minimum step is part of the whole. So by that, we can gradually develop this higher self-esteem. Because if we need to develop a self-esteem in which we say, I'm able to change my behavior from one moment to the other, it's impossible. If we develop the self-esteem in which we say, can I change my behavior a little bit? I complain too much. Am I able to stop complaining right now? No. Can I complain a little bit less? Yes. Oh, but it's not enough. That's not true. It's just by doing one step at a time that we can make the big difference. There is no other way. So can I complain a little bit less about that person? Okay. Can I complain a little bit less about this situation? Yes. Can I start by not verbalizing some of the complaints that I have? Yes. And by this, in the moment that we see that we are able to do some of small steps, but which are actually very big, this actually gives us better self-esteem, and we say, okay, I can do it. So it's very important for us to be aware that it's a gradual process. It's not something immediate. And every small little thing has a big impact. And also that the path is not always one step forward. We do one step forward, 2 steps backwards, then we do 2 steps forward, and then we do 1 step backwards. It's part of the process. If we imagine going up on a line, the line, if we look from far away, we will see a straight line going up. If we go very near to it, we will see that this straight line is made of ups and downs, going forward and backward, but finally we move forward. It's process. It's part of our own process. It's part of the process of transformation of ourselves. So, it just remembers me one example from Lama Ganchen's life. One time, in the end of the 80s, like 87 or 86 I think, Rinpoche went to Tibet. And he was together with the great 10th Panchen Lama. And he thought that the Panchen Lama offered Rinpoche the possibility to do some projects together. Okay, that time our friend Franco, who is here also today, was there. And together there was the project of making a hotel for Tashilumpa Monastery. Very beautiful project together. And Rinpoche was really excited about it. He was really happy about this. Then when Rinpoche got to Beijing later, he was supposed to go to see the Panchen Lama. But he heard the news in between that time that the projects were not able anymore to continue. For whatever social, political, whatever economical reason, organizational reason, the projects were not able anymore to go on. So Rinpoche was very upset because he put a lot of energy in that, he believed very much in this, he was so happy to be able to do something there. So he got so upset that he got a fever. So they called up to Panchen Lama's house and to say, sorry, today Lama Ganchen cannot go there to see you as was planned because he's in bed with fever. And the Panchen Lama answered back saying, stop behaving stupidly, come here right now. Panchen Lama was very strong and forward. No? So then Rinpoche, his guru is calling him, so he went out of the bed with fever and went there to see the Panchen Lama. Then the Panchen Lama told him, because one project didn't go on, now you have fever? If every time that I tried something it didn't work out, I should have fever, I should have been already dead so many times. Whenever I make one plan and it's not fulfilled, this gives me the strength to start 10 new projects. And look, Rinpoche learned it very well. But what happened is that if we try something and we see that we are not always successful, it's part of the path, we are not going to be always successful. There are moments in which we try to deal with our insatisfaction and we are not successful. Other times we are successful. There are times in which we try to have less anger and we are not going to be successful. But every time that we try something and we see that it didn't work, okay, then I will put 10 times more effort. I will put 10 times more energy. I will try again and again. But it's also important in our path of this to be adorned with the armor of joyful effort and patience, which is like a warrior going to war. Does he go dressed in the normal clothes or does he put an armor? Normally warrior would wear an armor, right? Why does the warrior put an armor on? Because he knows that he's gonna get hit. By arrows, by swords. So he knows clearly that he's going to get hurt. So because he knows that he's going to get hurt, he protects himself already before. Okay? Similar to that, whenever we go to any project, to any path, we should already know before there are going to be difficult moments. Sometimes I'm going to be able, sometimes I'm not going to be able. There will be difficulties, there will be interferences, but I prepare myself to deal with them. Whatever comes, I will overcome it. If we do this before, when we are there and we see that things that really don't go as we expected and we have difficulties, okay, but I'm already prepared somehow for it. So this will not throw my identity and my self-esteem completely down. That's why in this process it's extremely important to put these three aspects together, which is having a very high objective together with a very low expectation and a constant effort. How can we put together high objective with low expectation? My high objective is to be free from insatisfaction and act always with love and kindness, have wisdom. Just one example. Low expectation. I do not project this objective into time and space. I will be free from my insatisfaction. When and how, I don't know. Because I don't know how deep it is. I don't know all the aspects. I don't have full awareness of everything. And also what some masters also explain, that the process of transforming our mind and behavior is like escalating mountains. I don't know how many of you have climbed mountains. I'm not the best climber, okay? Or better, I'm not a climber. But it happens sometimes to walk in mountains. When we are walking in a mountain, it has two interesting aspects. One aspect is that we do not know that we have reached the top until we have reached it. If here is the mountain and we are walking here, No, when we look to it, it looks always to the horizon, and we don't know how much there is still to go. Maybe there is 10 meters, maybe there is 10 kilometers. So we don't know that we reach the top until we have reached the top. Second, we don't know if there is another mountain until we have not finished that first one. So what happens is that when we talk about changing our behavior and our mind and our attitudes, maybe we already done a lot, and we are not aware of that until we don't really cross the top. Until we don't have a strong change in our behavior, which is non-conceptual. I have seen this in many people. They struggle to change some behavior for a long time, and they are able and not able, and they go ups and downs, and they move. And then suddenly one day something happens, and then they get an inner click, and then they change their really behavior. Then they can experience the change. Then sometimes it comes back again on another aspect. Then we need to go on again because somewhere it is still there. So the process is done with ups and downs. It's part of it. And we need to be aware of it. And we must embrace ourselves with our faults, with our defilements. We are ignorant. That's why we are here on the path. Nothing wrong. Do not blame yourself. But direct oneself. And are we able? Yes. To do what? Very tiny micro changes. That's what we are able to do. Nothing more than that. If we ask, how many degrees can I make changes in my life? How many degrees can I shift? Maybe 1/10 of a degree? Half of a degree? I personally cannot make 90 degrees changes in my life. But if we make 1/10 of a degree, half a degree change in our behavior, in our mind, in the way how we speak, then we add another half a degree and another half a degree. And if we take half of a degree change and we put a straight line on it, on the long run, how much difference would that make? Enormous. So, most of the times, the reason why we do not believe in ourselves is because we have an idealized image of what we should be. And we are not. So we should embrace ourselves for what we are and direct ourselves for what we want to be. Okay? And we need to celebrate every step. That's also important. We need to rejoice and to celebrate every step that we do. And identify oneself within one's own qualities. That's what we do in Tantra constantly. Okay? Well, let's just go briefly through the next verse. Ranshingembe semcheni diktun trapo nem tongse rinchen terna trebashin niebar kawe chenzin sho. That's not so easy one. Actually, as the text goes on, it gets more difficult somehow. Whenever I see beings instinctively cruel, overpowered by negativities and serious problems, actually overpowered by negativities and suffering. Okay, serious problems is actually, the word is suffering. May I cherish them as difficult to find as discovering a treasure of gems. Normally, what do we do when we meet someone that we think is a harmful, negative, cruel person? We make distance, or we get more near? We make distance. sometimes we even may use the Dharma to make distance. Not the real Dharma, but the justification of it. Which is, oh, you know, this person is really bad, like, you know, with the principles of love and compassion and respect and so on. So I cannot be near to such type of person. But normally what we do basically is when we have someone that is a harmful person, our tendency is to move away. Okay? Normal. Here what is being said is, in the moment that we truly want to develop love, we must be able to love those that act in a way that we do not agree. And here is actually showing us a very important aspect of love. That normally, in a common way, we have difficulty putting together the fact that we do not agree with the behavior of someone and loving them. Take someone that you think is a terrible person. That you may know this person or may be a historical figure. Okay? And you think, how can I love that person? Do we have more difficulty loving someone that we think acts in a wrong way than loving someone that we think that acts in a right way? Yes. But one thing that is for me quite clear, and it's very important for us to remember, is the fact that loving someone doesn't mean that we need to agree with that person. If I love you, means I am attracted by your happiness. And I have compassion of you, I have aversion of your own suffering. I want you to be happy, I don't want you to suffer. Now, this doesn't mean that I agree with what you do. This doesn't mean that I agree with your point of view, with your actions. And this doesn't mean that I need to support you in them if I think that these actions are harmful to yourself and others. It's exactly because I love you that I'm going to go against you. Not against you, but against your behavior and against attitudes that are harming yourself and others. How does a father or a mother act towards his own child when he or she sees that the child is doing something that is harmful for him or herself? Because I love you, I let you do it? Or because I love you, I try to protect you from that behavior? Because I love you, I try to protect you. Similar to that, whoever may be, whatever they may do, because we love them doesn't mean that we agree with them and we are, how to say, cúmplice, we are, let's say, it doesn't make us part of what they do and how they act because we love them. But in our normal way of looking, do we see it in that way or not? For example, imagine someone that is really acting in a cruel way and violent way. Okay? And what happens if I go and I say, I really love that person? How do we see that? As if I agree with that person. And we think, how can you love this person after what he does? Why not? If the prerequisite to love someone is the person not to make mistakes, then I will love no one other than the Buddhas. Or not? But as the saying, there is a public, I'll say a popular saying in Tibetan, which it is one's own child is always right, the neighbor's garden is always greener. So we always see, okay, what is the neighbor, he's better, but one's own child is always right. It doesn't matter what he's doing. And sometimes even talking, for example, to school teachers, I see one of the strong difficulties nowadays many school teachers have is that if they scold the children for something that they do wrong, after they have the parents coming after them, and they will protect their child even in front of wrong behaviors of their child. This is not a good way of manifesting love. Because if I really love you, what I want for you is your well-being. And your happiness depends on a way of life and a behavior that is positive and constructive. And to give support to a behavior that is negative and destructive, it's not a manifestation of love. I think it's clear, right? But somewhere, out of our ignorance, we do differently. Somehow, it's so difficult for us to act not going in accordance to someone that we love. To say no to someone that we love. Even though in Tibetan there is another popular saying which says, Shatse kala tam nye me. Shatse kala tam nye me means from the mouth of those that care for you, sweet words will not come out. Which means, you know, sometimes the truth is not sweet to listen. And those that really care for us will say the truth and will really say what we want. You know, if we don't really care and we just want to keep a good relation, we will say what the other want to listen somehow. No? This means I really don't truly care about. The point in which I want to get is that when we love someone and we care about the well-being of that being, of that person, more than the relation that we have between us, more than the function that you have to me, your happiness is more important than that. So I will act in accordance to what I believe out of my own ignorance also, but about what I believe that is the best for you on a middle, long term. That's one thing. The other thing is that it's not because I love you that I will agree with you. So it's not because I disagree with you that I will not love you. That's a very powerful change of perspective. Because very often when talking about bodhicitta, and I go and I say, okay, how can I love that person? No, impossible. You know? And then some people, they make some classical examples. Anyhow, some people say, how could you love Hitler? First of all, I never met him. All I know is news of history, which there are many things from what information that arrives to me that I really, really do not agree. But we love making, how to say, somehow personalizing into one person all the fault of many other things. But anyhow, that's another story. The point is that if you take any person, someone that really did something really bad, something wrong, something with a lot of cruelty, you know, I have a great part of my family was killed during the Second World War because they were Jewish. But why these things happen? It doesn't matter right now. But the main reason is because of ignorance. That's the main reason behind it. So, how can I love someone that did harm to me? How can I love someone that behaved in a way or is behaving in a way that I see as cruel, as wrong? By first understanding that by loving I do not endorse their ideas and their points of view. By loving, I will act in a way that I can give you what I believe is the best for you. And if I see you acting in a way that is cruel, that is wrong, that is violent, that is negative, and I really love you, I will act and interact towards you in order to try to help you to change that behavior. Because to love someone doesn't mean to do what they want you to do. It means to do what we believe through our own abilities that is the best for the other. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. It's not easy. But that's a very important step to do. Which is, loving others doesn't mean that I agree with them. It means that truly, deeply, I understand that there is no difference between us because we all want to be happy, we all want to be free from suffering, and we are guided by our own ignorance. And truly I want you to be happy, but not happy just in a superficial level. I want you to have true happiness. For that I want you to be free from hatred. I want you to be free from anger. I want you to be free from selfishness. I want you to have stability, to have joy, to act with compassion. I want you to be aware of others. I want that for you because I love you.
Yes.
Okay? So, this makes a big shift of reality. So from that perspective, we read again, it says, whenever I see beings instinctively cruel, overpowered by negativities and suffering, may I cherish them as difficult to find, as discovering a treasure of gem. May I take care of them as the ones that need the most. Because somehow, if we have one person that is acting with great cruelty and violence, and one person that is somehow the victim of that cruelty and that violence, okay, who needs the most help? Both. The one that is experiencing the results of that cruelty and violence must be protected. And I will do anything that is in my power to protect them. But the ones that are actually acting with cruelty and violence, they must be protected from their own actions, because by that they are creating causes to suffer again and again and more, and they are harming themselves first of all, not only harming others. So I must protect those that are being harmed from the direct suffering that they are experiencing. And I must protect that other person that is harming from his own ignorance and from his own negative actions. So act with compassion and love towards both. Our tendency is that we have compassion towards the victim and anger, hatred towards the cruel, violent one. To have compassion towards the one that is cruel and violent doesn't mean to be passive in front of his violence. We are passive in front of the violence of someone when we are indifferent, not when we have compassion and love. If I truly love you and I see you acting in a way that is harmful towards yourself and others, I will do whatever I can to stop you from that. I will not be passive in front of it. we take someone that we really love, and we see this person doing an action that is very harmful to him or herself, are we passive in front of it, or are we going to try to stop it as much as we can? We try to stop it. No? If we take a person that we really love, and suddenly we see this person that is ready to take poison, what we do? Oh, I love you, so do whatever you want. Please enjoy your poison. Or I go there and I do the best in my abilities to stop you from taking the poison. Not always I will be. I'm not going to be always able to do it, but that's what I try to do at least. So, love and compassion is not something that is passive. Actually, truly it's active. And again, loving someone doesn't mean that we agree with their actions. So, why do we see as the treasure of gems those that are actually acting with so much violence? Why should we see them as something so precious? First of all, because it's an opposite attitude to the one that we normally have. Okay. Our first attitude is push aside. Those that are ignorant, those that are cruel, those that are acting in a way that I don't like, I push them aside. As far as they are, better for me. So we have an opposite attitude. Second, if you really want to develop an open heart, and we are in front of those that need the most, who should we help? Those that need the most. And those that act out of cruelty, those that act out of violence and ignorance and so on, truly are those that need the most. I'm talking from a middle, long-term, deeper perspective. Okay? This doesn't mean that we will favor those cruel in front of the victims. We will not favor them. We will not like, okay, don't take care of the victims, take care of the cruel ones. And I'm not talking about this. What I'm saying is that who are the ones that truly need help? Those that act more and more out of ignorance and anger and cruelty and so on. Because through their actions, they are building up suffering for themselves, and they are being strong conditions for others to suffer. So they need to be taken care. They need to be cherished. I remember one time, was not in front of cruelty, but was another situation. And I was in Tibet with Rinpoche. And there was a person there, which actually already passed away. And Rinpoche was already passing the whole day looking at people, talking to people, hundreds of people in one day. He was quite tired. We were in Lhasa. He was very tired already. And then it was very, very late at night already. And then Rinpoche said, oh, I need to go to see that person. And I said, Rinpoche, like, come on. You know, I know that your patience is infinite, but your body has limits. What about going to sleep? And if this person needs something, I go to talk with this person. Come on, no need. Because was a person that actually was in deep suffering, but was deep inner suffering manifested to the most stupid things. So that day the suffering was, there is a rat in my room where there was no rat in the room. Anyhow. Okay? I'm talking about things that are really like just making problems and troubles and this and that. And I said to Rinpoche, really, Rinpoche, you need to rest. It's not possible. Then Rinpoche gave me one answer that really shut my mouth completely. which was Rinpoche said, if I pray every day, may all beings have happiness and its causes, then the one that needs the most comes to me. What shall I do? Put him or her aside. And I said, okay, let's go. I accompany you. So the fact is that when we get into a situation like this, where we are in front of someone that is cruel, where we are in front of someone that acts in a way that we really, really disgust, that we really, really disagree, that's the real ultimate challenge for us to open our heart. That's a precious opportunity. It's not easy. But it's like discovering a treasure of gem. Because that's the opportunity through which I can truly open my heart. Because if I'm able to love the one that acts in a way that I really do not agree, that I really disgrace, that I really avoid, and I'm able to open my heart and to be able, first of all, to see that person, to see his needs, to see his suffering, to open my heart toward that person and say, I love you. May you be happy. What can I do to help you to be happy? Without needing to agree with his attitude, with his behavior, or with his actions. That's a big challenge. But that's an incredible opportunity. Not easy, but powerful. So this verse is not for kindergarten. We need already to arrive more or less a little bit before university. But truly, when we are in front of someone that acts with cruelty and so on, to be able to love them, that's one of the biggest challenges that we can have in our path. There was one monk that he was in jail for many years. Then when he came out, he was asked, what was the most difficult thing that happened to you? What was the most difficult moment for you in all these years that you were in jail? And he answered, the most difficult thing that happened to me was to almost lose compassion towards the guard that was beating me. The problem for him was not the beating. The problem was losing compassion towards the other. So, actually, if we are on this path of the Bodhisattva, if we really put ourselves on the path to open our heart, where we are in front of people that we despise, we say in English, right?
Yes.
That we despise, people that act in a way that we see as cruel, that we see as negative, that we have aversion towards their behavior, aversion towards their way of being. That's the big challenge. To be able to go beyond that and to remember and to see their own humanity, to see themselves within their suffering, within their ignorance, and to be able to love them. Without needing to lose one's own principles and one's own ideals. Okay? So if we look from this perspective, it's not just words or metaphor. It's really like a treasure of jewels that we find. And again, as we said yesterday, we must be careful because here also is a trap. The trap is, I am in front of someone that I see as cruel, as negative, but I must be compassionate. So I will not go against you. I will listen to you. I will be loving and kind to you, not because I love you, not because I truly care for you, but because I care of my image of being a good and compassionate and loving. That's a dangerous trap. Even though this trap exists, it's better to be loving and kind because we are attached to that image than being indifferent and harmful. I'm not saying that this is something negative, but I'm saying that it's a trap on the real path. It's a danger that we must overcome. We may fall into it, but we must overcome it. How do I know if I truly love you or if I love the idea of loving you? How do I know if I truly love you or if I am just attached to the idea of being a loving, kind person? I know if I love you if I am truly attracted, not conceptually, but I am deeply attracted to your happiness. I truly have compassion towards you if I have aversion, natural aversion of your suffering. Then I love you and I have compassion of you, which goes together. If I only act in a nice way towards you because I think that it's correct to be kind and loving, it's good, but it's not enough. In that step, I am not truly loving you. I am more attracted not to your happiness, but I am more attracted to the idea of being a loving, kind person. It's clear, no? So, when we are in front of someone that we despise, that we see that we despise their actions, we despise their way of behavior, we despise their way of being, that's the best, incredible opportunity that we have. That person is giving us this opportunity to look at ourselves in the mirror, to deal with our own aversion, to deal with our own judgments, and to be able to include that person in may all sentient beings. But if we are able to love that one truly, then all the rest will come naturally. How can we love someone that we despise their actions? By understanding the suffering of change and understanding most of all the all-pervasive suffering. I'm not entering right now into that because it's late. But understanding that the person is completely taken by defilements such as ignorance, such as hatred, such as insatisfaction, and is in a constant cycle of suffering. So I must be able to see his or her suffering. And see that we are in the same cycle, just a different manifestation. Samsara in the same way. So, from that, we just cultivate this wish in which we say, I wish you to be happy, I wish you not to suffer. In other words, is I am attracted by your happiness, I have aversion of your suffering. This doesn't mean that I know how to act. This doesn't mean that I know what is the best to do. This doesn't mean that I need to go out and start hugging and kissing you. Or praising you. It means that I start giving the possibility to see you and to open myself and to look how can I interact in the best way. So, whenever I see beings instinctively cruel, overpowered by negativities and serious problems, may I cherish them as difficult to find as discovering treasure of gems. They are the best opportunity for us to truly open our heart, to truly develop love and kindness, to overcome our own limits. And remember, all of this should always be done in secrecy. We cannot tell anyone about it. Otherwise, we fall in the trap of being the good guy, having the good image and not really doing what we're supposed to do. Okay? So we will continue, we will stop with this verse for today. And tomorrow, just one practical information before we do the dedications, we will dedicate, I'd like to dedicate the merits of the teachings of today, especially to our friend Roberta Passerini, that passed away yesterday. And so tomorrow morning, there will be the final ceremony, so-called funeral, or whatever we like to call it, in Milano, in the morning time. So those that will be able to go to Milan, go to Milan. Roberta was a person that really did a lot for the center for many years, so both me and Lama Ganchen, we are going to be there. And so tomorrow morning we will do, in the morning session, the complete Kuru Puja here. And then the teachings, we will do both the sessions of the Lojong teachings, and then after Kalachakra in the afternoon. So the first part of the afternoon, I will be giving the teachings, then Lama Ganchen will do the other part, later part of the afternoon. Okay? Just for practical thing. So now, let's conclude with our final dedications. May we be able truly to put such precious instructions into practice. Chancho Sancho Rinpoche Make Panan Ke Kyuchi Yepa Nyampa Me Payan Kone Kontu Pewasho Jetsun Lame Kutse Raktenshi Namkar Trile Chokyu Gepala Lobsang Tempe Drome Sasungi Drove Munse Tatune Gyushi Imodele Sendele Nime Koyandele Shi Nitse Tatu Delepe Koncho Sungi Jingino Koncho Sungi Nodruso Koncho Sungi Trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio.